Hello and welcome back. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to use a grid layout. In the last one, we saw how to use the linear layout. So you should now be familiar with what layouts are and how can you use relative and linear layouts. So grid layout is pretty useful and it helps us to divide the screen, the app screen, into columns and rows. So if you see this diagram, okay, so what what my idea is to build an app screen, the UI, which has like three rows. Rather, you know, when you are numbering the rows, it'll be like 0, 1, 2. But yeah, these are like three rows, and then you have two columns. Okay, so if you see the first row, you have email. It's a typical messaging screen, okay, which you see on the mobile apps usually. So if you want to build something like this, then grid layout is really handy. So I'm going to show you how to do it. So let's get back to our studio. And if you see, this is the design, the code which I have written, which you will see shortly. So it lets you create this kind of UI screen where you have a email text, then you have a edit text where you can enter where the user can enter the email address, then you have a message which takes up most of the screen, and you have a send button towards the end. Okay, so let's see how to do it. So what I did is, for this tutorial, I created a grid layout XML. It's easy to do. You can simply click on file, new, and then you can, select the layout resource file, and you can specify the name. You can select, grid layout, and basically, so that's the way you can do it. And once you have the file, the XML file, so you have the grid layout parent element, and then if you see, you have a column count here. This attribute is important and it lets you choose the number of columns you want in the screen. Okay, and then let me walk you through this code. You can also view this on GitHub. I'll share the URL so that you have the code handy when you are out there to practice. So now each of the elements that you see here, be it text view, edit view, button, so there are some common fields which you will see, I mean attributes. So the layout height, layout width, margin and padding, these are like pretty much common to all the elements that you will see in the file. So what is different is these attributes. So the way you position an element in the grid, say the row, the column, so that is done using the layout row, the layout column attribute. So in the layout row, for example, for the first element, which is email, I specify the layout row as 0 and the column as 0 because it's 0 by 0. And then the text is obviously there. And if you see the next edit text, which is the text block that you see here, where the user is going to enter the email address. So there, the row is still 0, the column becomes 1. And then I've used the layout gravity fill horizontal. What it does is it lets the edit text occupy the rest of the space. So whatever is being used by email text is fine, but rest of the space is taken up by the text field. Okay, similarly you can see the other elements. So the next one is the message, which you see here. Now message which is displayed here is actually the hint text. Okay, and then these are like layout gravity attributes. You have the row as first and the column as 0. Okay, and I've given the column span as 2. Now what this means is it's going to span over the two columns that we are dividing the screen into, because we don't have another element to position here. We want the message to be the only one in this row. So that's what is the layout column span attribute going to help with. And the last thing is the button. And similarly, like if you understood this, it's similar to that. You have the column span attribute, and the rest of the attributes are pretty much the positioning types. So using this, you can create a layout which is similar to this, which is quite useful in messaging apps or when you're sending emails and all those things. So go ahead and try this out, the grid layout. I'm going to share the GitHub URL at the bottom of the video, like below the video, sorry. So you can take a look at the code and then you can try it out. And I'll strongly suggest that you practice this out and get familiar. So until next time, take care. See you. Bye.